Hey everybody, Papa Todd Takes. I'm Papa Todd. I've got a fun one today, so I like talking about Caitlin Clark. I'm also a safety professional, been doing that 15, 20 years, and so I did a little short video here a couple days ago after these members of Congress had gotten together, 11 of them, obviously trying to go for clicks or, get some kind of base behind them, distract from whatever failure they're currently involved in, right? And so, they put out this thing, the WNBA, like there's this violation because you're letting Caitlin Clark get abused and everything like that, which I'm all well and good. It's like, you know what? She is getting mistreated and something's got to be done. But that's on the Indiana Fever, the WNBA. And for Christ's sakes, Caitlin's, whoever your agent is, Caitlin, you'll never see this, but Jesus, hope maybe somebody will. Your agent sucks, because there is no way you're getting abused like this and you're sitting there and the only person that says any common sense is you, and you're going out there and you're dispelling it because you're trying to calm everything down. While they're out there, nobody's standing up for you. Nobody's doing a damn thing. You're getting abused. Your career's getting shortened by the week because they're just beating the hell out of you, and eventually there's going to be a serious injury, or your mental state is just going to go to hell. So I don't know, your agent, you have more power than your own sport. And unless Caitlin starts realizing this, and her agent, whichever loser this is just doing her injustice, and Caitlin's dad, for Christ's sake, would you speak up for your daughter? This is ridiculous. She could do it anything. She could go out and start her own damn league. And I know David Portnoy said something, and I know one of these other rappers that had something, Ice Cube or whoever the hell they are, everybody's willing to throw money at her to start a league. You don't think she'd be able to take off? And what is it, 71 or 72% of jersey sales or something like that are between her and Sophie Cunningham? I think that might be just, I don't know if that's just for the Fever, but I think that's WNBA. I think it is. I think it's this huge number. But whatever. I mean, clearly they have this huge following. You don't think the money is going to follow them? ESPN can wash down the toilet for all I care. They're nothing but, somebody said it on there, they're a movement. They're not a sports thing anymore. They're some kind of woke DEI experimental movement that's going off, which is all well and good if you're into DEI and wokeness and everything like that. I'm not bad-mouthing people who are, but when you're sitting there and you're telling everybody else in the world you're a loser and a racist because you don't believe in this, well, guess what? You're fucking wrong. You're just wrong, right? Some of us, I'm trying to follow women's sports because I've gotten along with the Hawkeye women's basketball team. I've followed them for years, really enjoyed. I love the way they play. I love all this kind of stuff. I can watch them play a hell of a lot. It's more enjoyable for me to watch the Iowa women basketball team play than any men's basketball team play. I just have fun. I think that's a great culture they're building, and you get to know the individuals and stuff like that. And I'm sure fans of other teams do that, but this Iowa team really took off with Caitlin Clark, and it was her. She was the one who drove it, and then everybody else picked up. And so now the Iowa women, they're still selling out their arena. Don't get me wrong, it was because of Caitlin Clark, and all this stuff had built up to that, but it took something to trigger it. It took a spark to light that fire. That spark is Caitlin Clark, and she took that right into the WNBA. And the exact same thing happened, only it happened from day one because they didn't have to build it for a couple of years like they did at Iowa. It hit. She went in. They were selling out, everything like that. And guess what? It's fizzing. Why is it fizzing? Because you're abandoning her, right? But anyway, that aside, so I'm watching one of these dipshit congressmen yesterday. He's on Fox News, I think it was, and he's getting interviewed. And they're talking about this thing. And he starts talking about how OSHA needs to get involved. Okay, so OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, right? So that's kind of interesting because there's main standards within OSHA, right? And so now I'm going to go all safety geek on you guys, but just so you understand how this works, right? So you have general industry, you have construction, you have 3 sections for maritime law, like longshoring and shipyards and stuff like this. And then you have agriculture. Those are your four main sections: 1910, 1926, 1915, 17, 18 maybe, and then 1928. Those are the ones I mentioned. Um, the rest would fall under just the general OSHA Act, and what probably 5A1, 5A1. So 1904. I don't even, is it 1904 5A1 or just, no? It's just the OSHA Act. Section 5A1, which is OSHA's general duty clause, right? OSHA's general duty clause says employers must provide to their employees a workplace fee free from recognized safety hazards. So then the first question is, does OSHA even apply to this, and how does the Department of Labor weigh out? Well, how you weigh your injury rates, right? And how you figure out what's the standard for what we do and how do we compare to other, like me, I'm in general industry, so and we build large trucks kind of thing. So we weigh it against that general industry standards under what they call a NICS code, which is the North American Industrial Classification System, NAICS. And so weighed it again. So it was interesting. I'd never looked this up, so I decided to look it up. And sure enough, you have a NICS code for sports clubs and organizations, which is, and I looked it up, it's like 711 something. Where was it? Where did I find this? Yeah, 711-211, 711-211 is sports teams and clubs. And so then I'm like, oh, what are the injury rates for them? Because it's got to be pretty good because players are getting hurt all the time. And so, like, for instance, your general industry standard, for the most part, somewhere between 2 and 5 is most industries' injury rates, which is a percentage likelihood of injury, right? So go to professional sports teams and clubs. Their injury rate is 16.5. Their OSHA total incident rate, 16.5. Their DART rate, or rate of injuries that are serious enough to take something beyond first aid and then end up in restrictions where they can't do their full job or days away, is an 11. These are crazy high numbers, but I guess it shouldn't surprise me. It's just really 1 in 5, but I get it. Most people get a sprain at some point, right? And so is OSHA coming down on them for strains and sprains and bruises and cuts and stuff like that? No, because part of the inherent risk of sports is going to be stuff like that. Right now, you think about the NFL's concussion protocol, thing like that. So that's where this general duty clause comes in, where they start recognizing, hey, something's going on and we're having these injury rates and we got to do something. Because once you understand there's, at least when there's trends and it's not a one-off, you got to do something about it. And what the lawsuit against the NFL by the Players Association there was, and I'm not an expert on this lawsuit, but for the most part, it was like, you guys knew this shit was going on and you didn't do a damn thing about it. Now you have all these guys that are punch drunk in their 60s and 70s. You know, it's a big deal. So I started thinking about how would this apply? Now, Caitlin Clark, and this is all going to be argued, but understand, it should be pretty obvious, right? I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan. I'm an Iowa kid, right? So I love Caitlin Clark. I love what she's doing. I think she's changed the game of basketball for good. Now, I think they're destroying her, and unless something drastic happens, she needs to get the hell away from the field. But anyway, they call the fouls different. They get away with murder. She's been poked in the eye, pummeled to the ground I don't know how many times, and just blatant assaults. I mean, it's criminal what's going on there. There's stuff that happens within the game, right? You're in a game of basketball. Yeah, it's like a contact sport, right? Because elbows are flying, they're jumping up and down and stuff like that. But they started trying to protect the players a little more. Like, you can't have this, what is it, a reckless closeout where somebody's jumping and you run at them and then you don't stop in time. So you're under, so they can come down, they can roll an ankle, break a leg, blow out an ACL, whatever it be, right? So they did something about it. They made a new rule, and they started enforcing it. Now, I think the last 2 times I've seen a reckless closeout on Caitlin Clark, it wasn't even freaking called. Matter of fact, they investigated Caitlin for coming down in her swinging motion on one of them. I can't remember which bozo was doing it. And they're like, oh no, her arm came down. I think she might have been taking a swing at the player who came underneath her and almost broke a damn ankle. Right? So... regardless. Anyway, so they make rules for player safety on that, right? So they have people around the ring, right? So when the floor gets slippery and they point it out, they stop, so they get out there and scrub that. That would be your workplace safety. They're doing things for hazards that are recognized to stop people from getting injured that way, right? So that would fall, I would guess, under OSHA and the general duty clause. So then it comes down to, well, they're saying that she is being targeted. Caitlin Clark is being targeted. I think they're 100% right. I think it's pretty obvious. If you watch any of this, Caitlin Clark is targeted for whatever reason, but I don't think it has to do with workplace. Well, she's going to get hurt, but it's more of a workplace violence situation than a workplace safety. Workplace safety is processes and procedures. They got all the rules, and then they enforce a rule here and there against it and stuff like that, and the rest of it they get away with. And sometimes it is a judgment call, yeah, which I'll but other times, but it's workplace violence is what she's dealing with, not workplace safety, okay? Because she plays on the same court as everybody else, and she's subject, whether they're applied correctly or not, to the same rules. When those rules start applying differently, now all of a sudden you're in like equal employment kind of stuff, right? I mean, it's like workplace harassment. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with civil rights and stuff like this, right? So they're targeting her, and they're not willing to step up and protect her. You got a harassment situation going on, and potentially civil rights, because I do think there's a racial element to it, and I do think it has something to do with her sexual orientation, because she doesn't fit the bill for this little niche that they had created. This WNBA world was its own little world up here. And Kelsey Plum even recently came out and said it, that she was getting the hell beat out of her too, because she was the white girl. Now, there's a whole different argument there to be made, whether that's true or not. But man, if I'm watching it from the outside looking in, that's sure as hell what it looks like. But anyway, back to this Yahoo bozo congressman, right? So these are the people that are responsible for the laws, right? Occupational Safety and Health Administration was created by Congress, right? So they're supposed to know all about the laws. They don't know a damn thing. These idiots come out and they start talking about OSHA. You want to send an OSHA investigator into the Indiana Fever to see if Caitlin Clark getting beat up by a bunch of brutes is a workplace safety situation? No, it's a workplace violence situation. Get the law in there that way. Don't bring in OSHA. My God, these people are just... We deserve these idiots that we vote in, guys, right? We got to really pull our heads out of our butts and start voting for people that have common sense. Now, can Congress step in? Yeah, you have the union situation, and Congress backs up all this stuff, gives them breaks on this, and all, they do all sorts of stuff. There's specific things. Somebody's got to be doing something for these guys, because they haven't been making money on their own, and they're still out there. These players are making over $1 million now, right? So yeah, it's getting supplanted by our tax money. Ultimately, is where a lot of this money comes from. Don't tell me it's coming from all these individuals. No, all this stuff has backing, right? And why do you think Congress is involved in the first place, right? So anyway, workplace safety. Guys, the Caitlin Clark situation has nothing to do with workplace safety as OSHA is involved, okay? The stupidity is strong with these people. Anyway, Caitlin, I'm with you. Let's talk some other time about getting you the hell out of the WNBA. Either go to Europe or start your own league. I really think you could start your own league. I really do. But one way or the other, you stay in the WNBA, your stats are getting drugged down. You're just going to disappear into mediocrity because they're not playing you. You even said, Caitlin Clark said this week, and I don't know why I'm talking to her like she's going to hear me. She's never going to see this. I hope not. I'm a bozo too, right? However, she said she felt fine. But she played 16 minutes out of what, 80? It's a 40-minute game, right? And there's 2 games, and they sat her, and she said she felt fine. So Stephanie White and the Fever organization, read between the lines here, pals, because you guys are a bunch of assholes, and I know exactly what you're trying to do. I don't remember if it was it Ben Daniels, or no, Venom. I think it was Venom put it out there, and he broke down the money. And I think he might be onto something, that they're doing everything they can so she finishes back in the league, can't win MVP this year because her stats are going to be so far back. Because if she wins MVP, they couldn't afford it. They'd have to get rid of her because all somebody else would have to do is come in and make an offer, and they can't match it. They're locked into all these other contracts, and they'd lose Caitlyn. So they're trying to keep her, even though they're dousing her fire out. They're just douching her with water so she can't make any money, she can't make any stats. They're doing this to try to sit on a gold mine. All the while they're caving that gold mine in on itself. They're destroying the WNBA. Get these assholes out of leadership, get them out of the fever office, or get rid of Caitlyn and let her go and do her thing. You're claiming, I mean, yeah, the numbers are, they're winning games when Caitlyn's not on the court. Get rid of her. You guys are doing better without her, right? Or are you just going to sit there and you are going to kill the greatest athlete, the woman, or the I shouldn't say that. I don't know enough about it. Okay, but right now she's the greatest gift to women's sports across the whole board, and I don't think you can argue that. She's the best gift women's sports have had. I mean, you're talking about getting launched on the platforms you guys weren't even dreamed of, and you're going to sit there. Amber Cox, you're a freaking moron. Kelly Kroskov, get the frick out of there. And for God's sake, Stephanie White and the whole coaching staff, pound sand, get out. Free Caitlin Clark, all right? Ben Daniel, Larry Rhodes from Rhodes Rants and Black and White Sports, Venom, Rudy. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the podcast. I've watched you guys too. You guys are awesome. Keep it up. But in the meantime, I'm sitting back here just stewing. And workplace safety and OSHA, blow it out your ass, guy. This is Papa Todd Takes. I'm Papa Todd. Folks, think for yourselves and don't listen to these morons. Have a good weekend.